The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. At first, it was just another signal among thousands that Dr. Emma Porter analyzed at NASA's SETI facility. But this one was different. This one made her spill her coffee all over her desk. "Sir," Emma's voice shook as she called her supervisor. "I think you need to see this." The signal wasn't random space noise or a satellite echo. It was a clear, structured message, repeating over and over in mathematical patterns that could only be artificial. Within hours, NASA's best minds gathered in the control room, their faces lit by the blue glow of computer screens. Emma hadn't left her station for 12 hours straight. Her dark hair was messy, and empty coffee cups littered her desk. But she didn't care. She was about to make history. "The basic structure suggests a language," she explained to the room full of scientists and military officers. "And look at this pattern. It's counting in prime numbers, just like we've always theorized aliens might use to communicate." Admiral David Morrison, a tall man with gray hair and stern eyes, stepped forward. "Can you decode it, Dr. Porter?" "I think so." Emma nodded, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "The math is universal. They're using it as a key to teach us their language. It's brilliant." Days turned into weeks as Emma and her team worked around the clock. The message became clearer bit by bit, like a photograph slowly developing. But as understanding dawned, excitement turned to worry. It wasn't a greeting. It was a warning. "They call themselves the Centurions," Emma explained to the emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. The room was dead silent as she spoke. "They're running from something. Another alien species called the Vorath. They're asking us. They're begging us to deny them sanctuary." Admiral Morrison's face was grim. "Why? What are they running from?" Emma pulled up the translated message on the main screen. "The Vorath are apparently some kind of galactic enforcers. They believe emotional species are dangerous to cosmic stability. They've been systematically hunting down and destroying what they call emotionally volatile civilizations." "And these Centurions?" someone asked. "They were judged too emotional to live," Emma said quietly. "Their whole civilization is on the run in a refugee fleet. Millions of survivors, looking for somewhere to hide." The room erupted in heated debate. Some argued Earth couldn't risk getting involved. Others said they had a moral obligation to help. The argument raged for hours until Admiral Morrison stepped up to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice cut through the chaos, "I understand the risk, but let me ask you something. If we turn away refugees because we're afraid, what does that make us?" He looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "We've spent centuries wondering if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not. And our first act is going to be turning away people who need our help. Because we're scared." Emma watched as the Admiral's words sank in. She saw the change in people's faces, fear giving way to determination. "The message says Earth is already classified as dangerously empathetic by galactic standards," Morrison continued. "So we're probably on their list anyway. I say if we're going to be targeted for having emotions, let's prove those emotions can be a strength." He straightened his uniform. "I vote we offer sanctuary. If these Vorath want to call us dangerous for helping people in need, let them come see how dangerous we can be." The vote wasn't even close. Earth would offer protection. That evening, Emma sat at her station, composing humanity's first official message to an alien civilization. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed. "To the Centurion fleet, this is Earth. We hear you. We understand the risk, and we offer you sanctuary. Come to us. We will protect you." As she sent the message into space, Emma looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, a fleet of refugees was running for their lives. And somewhere behind them, a force of destruction was coming. Earth had just stepped onto the galactic stage, and its first act would be one of defiance. 3 weeks after Earth sent its message, the first ships appeared. They came out of nowhere, blinking into existence just past Mars' orbit. The Centurion refugee fleet was massive. Over 200 ships of various sizes, all bearing the scars of long flight and battle. Lieutenant Rachel Cooper stood in the airlock of the International Space Station, her heart pounding. As the leader of Earth's first contact team, she had trained for years for alien contact. But no training could have prepared her for this moment. Remember, her voice was steady as she spoke to her team. These people have been running for their lives. They're scared. Let's show them they made the right choice coming here. The Centurion shuttle docked with perfect precision. Rachel watched as the airlock cycled, her hand instinctively checking her translator device one last time. The door opened. The aliens were tall and slender, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer. Their large eyes were a deep purple, and they moved with an elegant grace that made them appear to be floating. The leader stepped forward, pressing its hand to its chest in greeting. "I am first speaker Zal," the translator converted their musical language. We feared no one would help us." Rachel smiled, copying their greeting gesture. "We couldn't turn away people in need. I'm Lieutenant Rachel Cooper, representing Earth." The meeting lasted hours. The Centurions shared their story. How the Vorath had appeared in their home system without warning, demanding they submit to emotional suppression or face extinction. How their people had chosen to flee rather than lose what made them who they were. Back on Earth, in the White House Situation Room, Admiral Morrison listened to the briefing with growing concern. "The Vorath have destroyed 12 civilizations in the past century," General Alice Parker reported, her face grim. "Any species they deem too emotional is given two choices: submit to their treatment or die. The Centurions are the first to successfully escape them." "And what about us?" someone asked. "Where do we stand?" A young analyst named Steve Wilson stepped forward. "According to the Centurion data, humans are classified as Level 8 emotional volatility. That's higher than any species the Vorath have encountered so far." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Up on the space station, Rachel was learning more about their new allies. The Centurions were sharing their technology. Faster-than-light drives, energy shields, and weapons that could help Earth prepare. But it was their stories that really caught her attention. "Your people are remarkable," Zal told her as they watched Earth through the station's window. "Most species we approached fled at the mention of the Vorath. But you didn't even hesitate to help." "It's what makes us human," Rachel replied. "We can't turn our backs on people who need help, even if it puts us at risk." The alarm sounded before Zal could respond. Red lights flashed throughout the station. "Multiple ships detected," the station's AI announced, "emerging from faster-than-light travel. Configuration matches Vorath warfare vessels." Rachel watched as massive ships appeared in the distance, their dark hulls blotting out the stars. They were bigger than anything she had ever seen, shaped like giant arrowheads and bristling with weapons. Transmission cut through all Earth's communications channels. The voice was cold, mechanical, devoid of any emotion. "Primitive species designation. Earth. You harbor emotional deviants. This is prohibited. Surrender the Centurion refugees and submit to emotional regulation or face extinction. You have 6 Earth hours to comply." Rachel looked at Zal, seeing the fear in those alien eyes. But she also saw something else: hope. The Centurions had trusted Earth to protect them, and she knew her people wouldn't let them down. Admiral Morrison's response was broadcast worldwide. "Vorath Command, this is Earth. Those seeking sanctuary here are under our protection. We will not surrender them. We will not submit to your demands. And if you want to test how dangerous our emotions make us, we're ready to show you." As Rachel watched the Vorath ships looming in space, she knew everything was about to change. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and they would fight it not just for themselves, but for every species that had ever been told their feelings made them wrong. The price of compassion would be high, But that was a price Earth was willing to pay. Chief Engineer Brian Foster hadn't slept in 2 days. He stared at his computer screen inside NORAD's underground base, watching the Vorath fleet's energy readings. Something wasn't right about their ships. Something that could help Earth fight back. "Look at this pattern," he said, pointing to the screen as Captain Lisa Marshall leaned over his shoulder. "Their shields pulse every 3.7 seconds. There's a tiny gap when they switch power flows." Lisa's eyes widened. "How tiny?" "0.2 seconds." Brian ran his hands through his messy brown hair. "Not much time, but maybe enough for a small, fast missile to get through." Above them, the Vorath fleet had grown to over 50 massive ships. Each one was bigger than the largest aircraft carrier on Earth. They hung in space like dark clouds, blocking out the stars. In the main command center, Admiral Morrison met with Earth's military leaders. The room was tense as they looked at the battle plans. "We have 200 space fighters," General Alice Parker said, pointing to the display. "The Centurions helped us upgrade them with basic shields and better weapons. But against their fleet," she didn't need to finish the sentence. "We don't need to beat their whole fleet," Brian spoke up from the back. Everyone turned to look at him. He stepped forward, nervous but determined. "Captain Marshall, and I found a weakness. Their shields have a timing gap. If we can hit them at exactly the right moment." "They'll never expect it," Lisa added. "The Centurions say the Vorath always fight the same way. They're so logical, so predictable. They don't know how to handle surprise attacks." Admiral Morrison smiled for the first time in days. "Then let's show them how unpredictable humans can be." The plan came together quickly. Earth's fighters would be split into small groups. While the Centurion ships drew the Vorath's attention, human pilots would sneak in close, timing their shots perfectly with the shield gaps. "Remember," Lisa told the pilots in the briefing room, "we're smaller and faster. They think size and power are everything. Let's prove them wrong." The Vorath attacked at dawn. Their ships moved in perfect formation, launching waves of fighters. Everything they did was calculated, precise, and completely predictable. Earth's response was anything but predictable. Instead of meeting them in open battle, Earth's fighters scattered. Some hid behind asteroids. Others used the sun's radiation to mask their approach. Each group picked its own targets, its own timing. Brian watched from the command center as the first human fighter group struck. Their missiles hit exactly as the Vorath shields pulsed. A massive explosion lit up space as the first enemy ship's engines died. "Impossible," the Vorath commander's voice boomed over the communication channels. "Your weapons are inferior. Your tactics defy logic." "That's the point," Admiral Morrison replied. "You can't predict what you don't understand." More human fighters struck from different directions. The Vorath tried to adapt, but they couldn't change their shield timing without shutting down their weapons. Every time they turned to face one attack, another hit them from behind. Lisa led her own squadron straight at the Vorath command ship. Her pilots weaved through enemy fire, moving in patterns that looked chaotic but were carefully planned. "Now," she shouted. 12 missiles launched at once, all hitting in that tiny gap between shield pulses. The massive command ship's lights flickered and died. The battle raged for hours. Earth lost many brave pilots, but for every human fighter that fell, they took a Vorath ship with them. The enemy's perfect formations broke apart as they tried to deal with attacks coming from all directions. Finally, the remaining Vorath ships began to retreat. They vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the burning wreckage of their fleet. In the command center, tired faces broke into smiles. They had done it. Earth had stood up to the galaxy's greatest military power and won. But Brian noticed something on his screens. "Admiral," he called out, "I'm picking up transmissions. Lots of them. From all over the galaxy. Other species have been watching the battle. Species that had lived in fear of the Vorath for centuries. Now they saw them defeated by a primitive planet that refused to back down. Send them a message. Admiral Morrison ordered. "Tell them Earth stands ready to help anyone who wants to be free." The war wasn't over. They all knew the Vorath would return with a bigger fleet, but Earth had shown the galaxy something important. That strength wasn't just about size and power. Sometimes the strongest thing you could do was stand up for what was right, no matter the odds. Dr. Amanda Wells worked in her lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by pieces of alien technology. She hadn't seen sunlight in weeks, but she didn't care. She was too excited about her breakthrough. "Look at this," she told her research partner, showing him a glowing blue device. "The Centurions use emotions to power their shields. That's why the Vorath hate feelings so much. They can't understand how to fight against them." The discovery came just in time. The Vorath had returned with an even bigger fleet, determined to wipe out the humans who had humiliated them. "Your tactics are flawed," the Vorath commander's message echoed through Earth's communications. "Your emotions make you weak. Your defeat is mathematically certain." But this time, Earth was ready. Amanda had worked with Centurion engineers to create new shields for Earth's ships. These shields didn't just block attacks. They grew stronger when the crew felt strong emotions. Fear, courage, determination. All of it made the shields brighter. Captain Robert Chen led the first squadron equipped with the new technology. His pilots were nervous as they faced the massive Vorath fleet. "Remember," he told them, "they think feelings are a weakness. Let's show them how wrong they are." The battle began, and something amazing happened. Every time the Vorath attacked, Earth's shields flared brighter. The pilots' determination to protect their home made their defenses nearly unbreakable. The Vorath couldn't understand it. Their weapons should have destroyed the human ships easily. Their computers showed it was impossible for such small ships to survive their attacks. But impossible things kept happening. A young pilot named Maria Diaz saw a Centurion refugee ship in danger. Her desire to protect the innocent refugees made her shields glow so bright they blinded the enemy sensors. She destroyed 3 Vorath ships by herself. In another part of the battle, a squad of Earth fighters was trapped. Instead of panicking, they joined hands through their ship's energy links. Their combined courage created a shield so powerful it reflected the Vorath's own weapons back at them. Admiral Morrison watched from the command center, smiling as the Vorath fleet fell into chaos. They kept trying to find logical patterns in Earth's defense, but there were none to find. Every human pilot fought differently, driven by their own feelings and instincts. "This defies all tactical analysis," the Vorath commander said. "Your ships are protecting each other. You are sacrificing logical advantages to save weaker units. This is not efficient warfare." "No," Morrison replied. "This is human warfare. We fight hardest when we're fighting for each other." The Vorath tried to adapt, but they couldn't. Their logical minds couldn't handle the way humans fought. Earth's pilots worked together in ways that made no sense on paper but worked perfectly in practice. A Vorath captain, frustrated by the humans' success, broke formation to attack Earth's command center. It was a logical target, but it left his ship exposed. Robert Chen's squadron surrounded the ship, their emotion-powered shields creating a cage of energy. "Impossible," the Vorath captain said as his ship's systems failed. "You are using feelings as a weapon. This violates all known laws of combat." "That's humanity for you," Robert replied. "We've been breaking the rules since we learned how to walk." As more Vorath ships retreated, Amanda received strange messages in her lab. Other alien species were contacting Earth, asking about the new shield technology. They had been watching again, and this time they saw something that gave them hope. Emotion wasn't just a weakness to be feared. It could be a source of incredible strength. The Vorath fleet finally withdrew, but everyone knew this wasn't the end. The enemy would study what happened, try to find logical ways to counter emotion-powered technology. But that was the beauty of Amanda's discovery. The shields weren't just technology. They were powered by the human spirit, and that was something the Vorath could never truly understand or defeat. In her lab, Amanda looked at the messages from other species, smiling as she read their questions about emotions and power. Earth hadn't just won a battle. They had shown the galaxy a new way to fight, not with cold logic, but with the strength of the heart. The Vorath had tried to prove that emotions made humans weak. Instead, they had helped humanity discover just how strong feelings could make them. Colonel John Patterson stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, the Hope, reading messages from across the galaxy. Ever since Earth had shared Dr. Wells's emotion shield technology, more alien species had found the courage to fight back against the Vorath. Another message from the Deltans, his communications officer said, "They want to join our alliance." John smiled. The Deltans were the 5th species this week to reach out. They had been under Vorath control for 300 years, forced to suppress their emotions. Now they were ready to break free. "Tell them they're welcome," John said, "and send them the shield plans." Earth had changed in the past few months. The skies were filled with ships from different worlds. Some brought technology. Others brought warriors. All of them came because they had seen Earth do the impossible, stand up to the Vorath, and win. In the main war room at NORAD, Admiral Morrison met with leaders from 20 alien species. They looked very different. Some had scales, others had fur, and one species was made of living crystal. But they all shared the same look of hope in their eyes. "The Vorath are gathering their largest fleet ever," Morrison told them, pointing to a map of the galaxy. "They're going to try to crush this rebellion before it spreads." A tall alien with blue skin stood up. "Then we will crush them instead. Earth has shown us that emotions are not weakness. Together, we are strong." John watched from his ship as the Allied fleet grew. Earth's scientists worked with alien engineers to upgrade everyone's ships with emotion shields. Human pilots taught their new allies how to fight unpredictably, how to use their feelings as strength. The Vorath attacked at midnight Earth time. Their fleet was enormous, over 1,000 ships. They had studied Earth's tactics and thought they were ready. They were wrong. 20 different species fought together, each bringing their own unique ways of fighting. The Deltans used their natural telepathy to coordinate attacks. The crystal aliens reflected energy weapons with their bodies, and humans led the charge, their emotion shields glowing like stars. "This is illogical," the Vorath commander broadcast. "Different species cannot work together effectively. Your differences make you weak." John watched as a human fighter saved a Deltan ship, while crystal aliens protected Earth's carriers. "Our differences make us stronger," he replied. "Each of us brings something unique to the fight." The battle was fierce. The Vorath had numbers and power on their side, but they couldn't match the creativity and determination of the Allied fleet. Every time they thought they had found a pattern to exploit, the Allies would change tactics. A group of Deltan ships was hit hard, their shields failing. Without orders, 3 human squadrons flew in to protect them. The Deltans' gratitude made the human shields glow even brighter, creating a wall of light that scattered the Vorath attack. Crystal ships formed living shields around Earth's vessels, while Earth's fighters cleared paths for alien cruisers to attack. No one cared about who got credit for victories. They all fought as one. John's ship, the Hope, led a charge straight at the Vorath command center. Ships from every allied species followed him. Their crews shared courage, creating a rainbow of shield energies. "You cannot win," the Vorath commander insisted. "Your emotions will lead to chaos." "Watch us," John replied. The Hope's shields flared with the combined feelings of its crew: human determination, Deltan unity, crystal clarity, and more. The blast that followed cut through the Vorath fleet like a burning sword. For the first time in history, the Vorath fleet broke formation and ran. They couldn't understand what they were seeing. Their logical minds couldn't process how so many different species could work together so perfectly. As the enemy retreated, cheers filled every ship in the Allied fleet. They had done more than win a battle. They had proven that differences weren't weakness. They were strength. Emotions weren't flaws. They were power. In his ship, John looked at the celebration around him. Humans hugged aliens, aliens shared their joy with humans, and everyone knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was changing. The Vorath had spent centuries teaching everyone to fear emotions and hide their differences, but Earth had shown there was another way. Unity didn't mean everyone had to be the same. True strength came from bringing different people together and letting them be themselves. The age of fear was ending. The age of unity had begun. Dr. Kevin Mitchell was in the captured Vorath ship's engine room when he made the discovery that would change everything. He had been studying their technology for weeks, trying to understand why their ships were so powerful. "Everyone, come look at this," he called to his team. "Their whole empire is built on a lie." The Vorath's power didn't come from superior technology or greater intelligence. It came from stolen emotions. Their ships ran on captured feelings, taken from all the species they had conquered over the centuries. That's why they suppress emotions in other species, Kevin explained to Admiral Morrison through a video call. They're not afraid of feelings. They're harvesting them. This news spread through the Allied fleet like wildfire. The Vorath weren't logical beings who hated emotions. They were emotional vampires who had been feeding on other species' feelings for generations. Major Sandra Hughes, leader of Earth's Special Forces, immediately saw an opportunity. If they need emotions to power their ships, she said in the war room, let's give them more than they can handle. The plan they created was called Operation Thunderstrike. It was crazy, dangerous, and very human. Sandra led a small team of humans and aliens onto the Vorath's main factory world. They wore special suits designed by Dr. Wells that could channel and amplify emotions. The team included soldiers from Earth, telepathic Deltans, and even 2 of the crystal aliens who could store emotional energy. "Remember," Sandra told her team as they snuck through the dark corridors, "we're not here to fight. We're here to feel. Feel everything as strongly as you can." They found the central power core, a massive crystal that pulsed with stolen emotions. Sandra's team surrounded it, and then they did something the Vorath never expected. They projected their feelings directly into the crystal. The humans sent their strongest emotions: love, hope, courage, even anger and fear. The Deltans added their telepathic powers. The crystal aliens amplified everything. Up in space, the Allied fleet watched as every Vorath ship suddenly lost power. Their stolen emotion engines couldn't handle the flood of pure, uncontrolled feelings. "What are you doing?" The Vorath leader's voice shook with fear, real fear, not stolen, for the first time. "These emotion levels are too high." Kevin watched his readings from the captured ship. "Their whole system is overloading," he reported. "They've never dealt with emotions this powerful before." The Vorath factory world's defenses shut down. Then its lights went out. The crystal at its heart fed too many real emotions too quickly, cracked and shattered. All across Vorath space, their ships started failing. Without the factory world's power source, they couldn't process the stolen emotions they depended on. Ships drifted in space, powerless. Sandra's team made it back to their ship just as the factory world's backup systems kicked in. But it was too late for the Vorath. Their secret was out, and their power source was destroyed. "You don't understand what you've done." The Vorath leader sent one last message. "We brought order to the galaxy. Without us controlling emotions, there will be chaos." Admiral Morrison's reply was simple. "We'll take freedom with a little chaos over slavery with perfect order." As news spread through the galaxy, more worlds rose up against their Vorath masters. Without their emotion-stealing technology, the Vorath couldn't maintain control. Their empire began to fall apart. Kevin studied the broken pieces of their technology. They spent so long stealing and controlling others' emotions that they lost the ability to feel their own. He explained. They made themselves into exactly what they claimed to be: beings without feelings. In the aftermath, Sandra's team found thousands of stored emotions in the factory world's ruins. They began the work of returning these feelings to the species they were stolen from. The Vorath retreated to their home system, their mighty fleet now powerless. They had spent centuries teaching the galaxy to fear emotions, only to be defeated by the very feelings they tried to control. In her ship, Sandra watched freed worlds celebrate their liberation. "Turns out the most human thing we did," she said, "was show the galaxy it was okay to feel." The war wasn't completely over, but the turning point had come. The Vorath's greatest weapon had been exposed as their greatest weakness, and humanity's greatest weakness, as they had called it, had proven to be the galaxy's salvation. 1 year after the fall of the Vorath Empire, Dr. Emma Porter stood at the same desk where she had first received their warning message. But today, she was getting very different kinds of signals from space. Another request for help, she told Admiral Morrison, who now had more gray hair, but the same determined look in his eyes. This time from the Rigel system. They want Earth to help them build their first emotion shield generators. The Admiral smiled. "Send them the usual response. We'll help anyone who asks." Earth had changed dramatically. The sky above was full of ships from 100 different worlds. Where there had once been fear of alien contact, there was now celebration of diversity. Humans worked side by side with beings from across the galaxy. In the new Galactic Council chamber in Geneva, representatives from over 200 species gathered. The massive room was designed to accommodate creatures of all sizes and types. Crystal beings floated near the ceiling, while water-breathing aliens swam in special tanks along the walls. Rachel Cooper, now promoted to commander, led the Council's defense force. Her fleet included ships from every member species, all equipped with the emotion shields that had helped win the war. "The Vorath remain in their home system," she reported to the Council. "Their ships still can't function without stolen emotions. They've asked to join the Council, but this time as equals, not rulers." The Council chamber erupted in discussion. Some wanted to reject the Vorath completely. Others argued for forgiveness. It was Admiral Morrison who stood to speak. "We won because we didn't let fear rule us," he said simply. "If we reject them now because we're afraid, we become what we fought against. Let them join, if they're willing to learn." The vote was close, but the Vorath were accepted under strict conditions. They would have to learn to feel their own emotions again, a process Dr. Wells and the Deltons were helping them with. In orbit above Earth, Brian Foster worked with alien engineers on a new project. They were building gates between star systems, powered not by stolen emotions, but by the freely given feelings of all species working together. "Each gate needs all of us," he explained to a group of young aliens. "Human hope, Delton unity, crystal clarity. Every species adds something unique to make it work." The first gate opened to cheers from every world. Now different species could visit each other easily, learn from each other, grow together. The age of isolation was over. On a quiet evening, Emma sat with first speaker Zell, who had become one of her closest friends. They watched the sunset together, something Zal had grown to love about Earth. "Do you remember," Zal asked, "when we came here running in fear? We thought we were dooming your world by asking for help." Emma nodded. "Instead, you helped us find our place in the galaxy." "No," Zal corrected gently. "You helped the galaxy find itself. We all lived in fear for so long. Fear of the Vorath, fear of our own feelings, fear of being different. Humanity showed us that our fears were our prison, and our emotions could be our strength." A new message arrived on Emma's computer. Another species, just discovering space travel, had found their signals. They were afraid, reaching out into the unknown, hoping someone would answer. Emma smiled as she began composing humanity's response. It was the same message they now sent to every new species they discovered. "Welcome to the galaxy. You are not alone. Your feelings are not weakness. They are strength. Your differences are not flaws. They are gifts. And if you ever need help, Earth will answer. We stand together now, all of us, united not in fear, but in hope." As she sent the message, Emma looked up at the stars. They weren't cold and empty anymore. They were filled with friends, allies, and endless possibilities. Humanity had refused to retreat when the galaxy fled in fear, and in doing so, they had helped create something beautiful. A galaxy where no one had to be afraid of who they were or what they felt. The Vorath had tried to make the galaxy logical, ordered, and emotionless. Instead, humanity had helped make it diverse, vibrant, and free. It wasn't always peaceful, and it wasn't always perfect, but it was alive with feeling, glowing with the combined emotions of countless species learning to shine together. That, Emma thought, was humanity's true legacy, not that they had won a war, but that they had helped the galaxy find its heart again.